Hi there, Mike MacArthur from the Oshkosh Public Library here with more Librarian Learns. This is the show where I talk about a little bit of Oshkosh history and different parts that interested me or that I've been asked about while I'm at the library. And today, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about some library history because this year, 2025, is the 125th anniversary of the Oshkosh Public Library's home on Washington Avenue. And I thought it was appropriate to give some credit to Oshkosh's first librarian, Mary Olcott. Although she's not really the first librarian, but I'm going to get to that in a second. Mary Ann Olcott was born in 1837 in Essex County, New York. Her parents were New Englanders, and she was the youngest of 3 children. Her father even served in the Revolutionary War. So in 1844, he moved his family to Milwaukee, and after 3 years there, he moved to Oshkosh, kind of through Green Bay. Mr. Olcott purchased and operated one of only 2 taverns in Oshkosh at the time, the Winnebago Hotel. Can you imagine a time when Oshkosh only had 2 taverns? The family was later moved a couple of miles outside of town where Mary attended a one-room log cabin school. She later taught at that school, though from the accounts I read, she did not really like teaching all that much and didn't really like living outside of town. In 1857, the family moved back into the city and built their home at the corner of Jackson and High Street. Here's a little pre-public library history. The first library in Oshkosh was founded in 1868. This began as a stock company of 50 private citizens, including 2 future public library benefactors, Felita Sawyer and Marshall Harris. This was not a free public library in the sense it was, driven by membership, and people could use it for a small fee. However, after the initial excitement of this kind of wore off, it kind of tanked, mostly because they didn't have enough money to buy new books. So by 1870, this library closed up shop. The volumes that the library had were turned over to a local lawyer, a Mr. Hutchinson, for safekeeping. Shortly after he took possession of all these books, he met Adeline Olcott. This was Mary Olcott's sister. And she kind of made an offhand remark about, wanting to have a go as a librarian. And he showed up to her house the next day, and after some convincing, she took over the library collection. Then, beginning in March 1871, Adeline Olcott kept the library open that next year. She received a full $13 in compensation. Working with her was her younger sister, Mary Olcott. In 1873, Mary Olcott took complete control of the collection. So it bounced around from different locations, from here to there. It finally found a location in 1875 in the Gill block, which is kind of where the BMO Harris is today, where the Athern once stood. Of course, she moved in January of 1875, and promptly in April of 1875, everything burned down. Bummer. Luckily, the collection was insured, and she received $1,200 to rebuild it. So Mary spent the next couple of years, once again, bouncing it around, trying to find places for it. Why am I focusing on Mary Olcott so much? One, she took control of the books and kept them until a permanent library could be found. But I also find that she is absolutely integral to getting that permanent location here on Washington Avenue, and it's because of her special relationship with the Harris family that would eventually bequeath their estate and money to the city of Oshkosh to build a free public library. So their relationship begins with Mary Olcott's friendship with their daughter, Nellie Harris. Nellie Harris was very sickly and died of consumption at the age of 21 in 1880. And the Harrises always remember Mary Olcott keeping Nellie filled with books during her sickness and illness. Mr. Harris it was noted that he would say things to Mary Olcott like, hey, if you could raise $100, I'd give you $500. Or if you could raise $500, I'd give you $800. So clearly he had a great admiration for libraries and for Mary's kindness towards his family and his ill daughter. But he didn't really do anything about it, so when he passed away in 1890, his will didn't say anything about this. Now at this part, you got to credit Abby Harris because she could have done whatever she wanted with the will. but she took her late husband's kind of final unrecorded wishes and updated their will to include the bequeathment to the city for a free public library. So when she died in 1895, that's when this agreement became public, and so on and so forth. The rest of the library history, donating the $75,000, they had to match it, so on and so forth, and yada yada. Go watch another video to see the full details of that bequeathment. I would speculate that it was Miss Olcott's personal relationship with the Harris family that had a great impact on the decision to follow through, change their will, and donate their estate and money to the city for a free public library. Would we have gotten a library eventually without the Harris estate and Mary Olcott? Possibly, but it would not be the one we have today. They break ground in 1899, and in 1900, the Free Public Library here on Washington Avenue opens with Mary Olcott as its librarian, a position she held until her health started failing her later in life. Mary Olcott passed away in her home on High Street in 1924. She had no children of her own to speak of at the time of her death, and her closest family members were a nephew in the town of Oshkosh and some nieces in Milwaukee and out in Minnesota. The family home that she spent the great majority of her life on High and Jackson was razed in the 1960s and is now, I bet you thought I was going to say a parking lot, but it's a gas station. But she will not be forgotten. The portrait that was commissioned and painted in secret by the Old Schoolgirls Club still hangs in the library, right next to portraits of the two male benefactors who get a lot of credit. But again, without that personal connection to Abby Harris, to Nellie Harris, and to the Marshall Harris, we don't get the library that we have today. So thank you, Mary Olcott. So I learned something. If you like these videos, want to see more, like, subscribe, come visit us at the library, tell me what topics you'd like to hear. And with that, I will see you later.